All right, beautiful people. Top of the day. Happy Wednesday. Sorry that I'm a few minutes tardy. I was trying to type y'all a message. I shared it that way y'all can click on it before we start reading it. All right. Well, it is January the 12th, 2022, day 2 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 4-year consecutive day count. Day 1020, 1020, 1020. Nikki, salutations. Trina Betwabu, Mom, shalom, shalom. Look, y'all. I know we said we were starting this today. We are going to start this. But we absolutely, I think, what we're going to read before we read this, and it's going to take us a couple days to get through this, what I just posted in the community section and what I just posted on Facebook. That link, the C.I.A. document. This C.I.A. document, which I just came across yesterday. I heard about it from Yaki. Audrey, shalom. I was watching his video while I was cooking yesterday. It's the one he recently did within the last, I forget how long, but it's the most recent one. If you go to his channel, click on videos, and the one that has extraterrestrial in the title, that's the video. It's almost 3 hours long. But anyway, he ain't talking about UFOs, but it's a word that he uses in there. So, but what happens is towards the end of the video is actually, you will find it when it's 10 minutes left to the video. He talks about it probably for about 5 minutes, but you start it at when it's 10 minutes left in the video, because that's right when he starts it. But in this video, he started talking about this document that was released by the C.I.A. in the early 2000s. This was a study that they was doing in the 80s. Grand Rising, Auntie Belinda Brown. They were doing this study on the human body and effects of the human body when you meditate and when you pray and what happens. And they found out what we've been trying to tell y'all. So I was like, oh, snap. Yaki showed the video. On his video, he was showing the document as he skimmed through it. They didn't leave a link, and I was looking for the link. I searched through the comment section to see if anybody found it and posted it. But when I couldn't find the link, and he didn't post it in there, but he was telling y'all to go look for it, he said you can find it. So first place I looked was the comment section, clearly. It wasn't there. And after I couldn't find it there, and I just listened to the last few minutes of this video just to see if he gave out the link, he didn't. But I was able to get enough information from what I saw on the screen to find the document. I found the document. I posted in the community section. I actually went back to his video and posted it in the comment section for people who watch that video and get to the end and want to look at that document themselves. We must read that before we read my big toe. Now, my big toe is based on real live events, tests, screenings, all these things that were done while people were chanting, and or we call it over here praying in tongues, whatever you want to call it. The same thing happens to the human body when you do it, and happens to the brain and all these things, right? So, but anyway, the C.I.A. began to do a study on it, and they began to look into it. And by golly, they found it to be true, and they're using it in the military, right? That's just a quick little snippet of what we're going to read. The document is a little over 30 pages long. Well, it's 30 pages. Yeah, I think it's about 30. It's 30 pages long, but it's going to take us a couple days to read it. Y'all, I was reading that document yesterday. I'm like, holy crap. Holy crap. So I was like, I didn't want to just give it to you. I wanted to actually read it with you. So you can see that what we're talking about, we're kind of coming from like the spiritual angle, right? But not just the spiritual angle. I've also started to add in the physical aspects of what's happening when we do this. And if we would be disciplined enough to do it, we are literally reversing what was done in the Garden of Eden, right? So, because you gotta remember, the story that they give us is literally just that. It's a story, right? To tell you what happened, how we got to the state that we're at as of today, right? In the previous generations. I saw you text. Oh, okay, the previous. Okay, I got it. I saw it. Okay, I saw it. Thank you. I'm watching. I got you. Okay. So while we're learning more about this, you'll see I'm gonna try not to flood the community section. I'm gonna try not to make the information overwhelming. So I'm giving it to you in bits and pieces in hopes that you're not just gonna read it and go about your day or whatever. But when you actually get a chance, I really want you. I adjure you. I'm pleading with you. Go check into this stuff, right? And also don't just check into it. I want you to begin to practice it. That's why I say we got to have a lab. We can't just sit here and be talking about this stuff and not have any kind of proof. I'm telling y'all, from what I've practiced already, I'm like, holy crap. We got to move up another level. People got to be doing this, because a lot of times people sit in church or wherever, listen to people, personal development, but they never really see any like physical change. They don't really have anything to latch onto other than like a bunch of words and stuff. But if you can actually see it everywhere and it's showing you, like the world is literally showing, Yah has put everything here to show us, to lead us back to the Garden of Eden, so to speak. Right. So we absolutely must read this document that was released by the CIA. This is real time, real life stuff. And I think it'll be beneficial before we actually read, because some of what I read in there, he talks about in here, what he found out when they were doing their whole scientific experiment thing, hooking up their bodies and stuff to the machine while they would actually do these things and be meditating on what physically happens to the body. It happens inside first, and then it begins to radiate outward. Hard head, shalom. So that was a quick snippet of what we're going to read, y'all. This is about to get real good. It's about to get real good. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the Shema before we get started. Then we're going to read these 3 chapters, and then we're going to start in this document. All right. Remember, the Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6. And we're reading the whole chapter now to keep it in its context. Y'all got so much good stuff to share with y'all. I'm just trying to keep it in the order to where it's like I'm telling a story, so to speak. Not necessarily telling a story, but you can kind of see it. I'm trying to use as many graphics so you can see, you're able to get it quicker than what you would do if somebody's just sitting here talking to you all the time. Like, you have to be able to see, you have to be able to identify it even within your own self. Okay. A call for wholehearted commitment. These are the commands, decrees, and regulations that Yahuwah your God commanded me to teach you. You must obey them in the land you are about to enter and occupy, and you and your children and grandchildren must fear Yahuwah your God as long as you live. If you obey all his decrees and commands, you will enjoy a long life. Listen closely, Israel, and be careful to obey. Then all will go well with you, and you will have many children in the land flowing with milk and honey, just as Yahuwah, the God of your ancestors, promised you. Listen, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, he is God alone. And you must love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your strength. And you must commit yourselves wholeheartedly to these commands that I am giving you today. Repeat them again and again to your children. Talk about them when you're at home and when you're on the road, when you're going to bed, and when you're getting up. Tie them to your hands and wear them on your forehead as reminders. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Yahuwah your God will soon bring you into the land that he swore to give to you when he made a vow to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is a land with large, prosperous cities that you did not build. The houses will be richly stocked with goods that you did not produce. You will draw water from cisterns that you did not dig, and you will eat from vineyards and olive trees that you did not plant. When you have eaten your fill in this land, be careful not to forget Yahuwah, who rescued you from slavery in the land of Egypt. You must fear Yahuwah your God and serve him. When you take an oath, you must only use his name. You must not worship the gods of neighboring nations, for Yahuwah your God, who lives among you, is a jealous God. His anger will flare up against you, and he will wipe you from the face of the earth. You must not test Yahuwah your God as you did when you complained at Massa. You must diligently obey the commands of Yahuwah your God, all the laws and decrees he has given you. Do what is right and good in Yahuwah's sight, so all will go well with you. Then you will enter and occupy the good land that Yahuwah swore to give to your ancestors. You will drive out all the enemies living in the land, just as Yahuwah said you would. In the future, your children will ask you, what is the meaning of these laws, decrees, and regulations that Yahuwah our God commanded us to obey? Then you must tell them, we were Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt, but Yahuwah brought us out of Egypt with his strong hand. Yahuwah did miraculous signs and wonders before our eyes, dealing terrifying blows against Egypt and Pharaoh and all his people. And he brought us out of Egypt so he could give us this land he had sworn to give to our ancestors. And Yahuwah, our God, commanded us to obey all these decrees and to fear him so that he can continue to bless us and preserve our lives as he has done to this day. For we will be counted as righteous when we obey all the commands that Yahuwah our God has given unto us. Shayla, hey girl, hey, Yahuwah is one. Yes, and shalom, hallelujah. Deborah, New Year's is Aviv or March. It's the March-April time frame, Deborah. Shalom, Ali. Remember, think about the cycle of life, right? It begins infant or springtime, then summer, then fall. Then as we age and get older, we're in the winter days of our lives. And then the cycle ends and it begins again. Yeah, so it's the springtime frame, March, April. Okay, y'all. So let's go ahead and jump to Genesis chapter 4. We read 1 to 3 yesterday. Everybody know what the first three chapters are about. Remember, they fell into sin. They started eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But what happens is, and I gave you just a little bit overview yesterday, and we're going to get more into it. The stuff that I'm going to be sharing over the next few days or so is still going to be relating back to these first chapters of Genesis, so you can see what actually happened. But they were enticed to eat from a tree. Yahuwah said, don't touch it. They were already, right? They were already experiencing, they were already getting the benefits of that tree. They didn't necessarily have to eat from it. It was already giving them what they needed. And when they actually began to eat from it because they thought they were missing something, they actually lost what they had, right? And Yah said that they would die. And that's what began to happen. The bodies began to decrease in years, because they were living 1,000 years, right? And possibly more than that. This canonized version just tell us that they lived 1,000 years. But I based on some other information I have, they actually live way longer than that. But we ain't going to get into that now. We may build up to it, but for the sake of the documents that we're reading right now, but I'm just telling you, I really do believe it was longer than that. When it says eternal, it really means eternal, right? Okay. All right, y'all. Let's see. All right, beautiful people. All right, y'all. Now, Genesis chapter 4. Now, Adam had sexual relations with his wife Eve, and she became pregnant. When she gave birth to Cain, she said, with the Lord's help, I have produced a man. Later, she gave birth to his brother and named him Abel. When they grew up, Abel became a shepherd, while Cain cultivated the ground. When it was time for the harvest, Cain presented some of his crop as a gift to the Lord. Abel also brought a gift, the best portions of the firstborn lambs from his flock. The Lord accepted Abel and his gift, but he did not accept Cain and his gift. This made Cain very angry, and he looked dejected. Why are you so angry? The Lord asked Cain. Why do you look so dejected? You will be accepted if you do what is right, but if you refuse to do what is right, then watch out. Sin is crouching at the door, eager to control you, but you must subdue it and be its master. One day, Cain suggested to his brother, let's go out to the fields. And while they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Afterward, the Lord asked Cain, where is your brother? Where is Abel? I don't know, Cain responded. Am I my brother's guardian? But the Lord said, what have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are cursed and banished from the ground, which has swallowed your brother's blood. No longer will the ground yield good crops for you, no matter how hard you work. From now on, you will be a homeless wanderer on the earth. Cain replied to the Lord, my punishment is too great for me to bear. You have banished me from the land and from your presence. You have made me a homeless wanderer. Anyone who finds me will kill me. The Lord replied, no, for I will give a sevenfold punishment to anyone who kills you. Then the Lord put a mark on Cain to warn anyone who might try and kill him. So Cain left the Lord's presence and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. There are more documents and manuscripts about this story other than what Genesis has. You'll find a little bit in Jasher, but there are other documents on the dark side, so to speak, if you want to label it that. That is not really the dark side. They just seem to have more of the information on what actually happened. But I actually have a book. I think I mentioned it last year. It's what's the title of it? But it has a little bit more to the story. It was focusing on Lamech, but it had the information in there about Cain as well. I may give y'all the link to that today. Let me go back and check my stuff. Okay. So, but also notice that if you read this, anybody would wonder why Cain said, well, anybody that finds me is going to try and kill me. Then y'all put a mark on Cain so that anybody who saw him wouldn't kill him. Well, I thought that it was Adam, it was Eve, it was Cain and Abel. Who else was there? Well, all of that wasn't canonized, but there is a bigger story. Josiah Shalom. Okay, the descendants of Cain. Cain had sexual relations with his wife, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. Then Cain founded a city which he named Enoch after his son. Enoch had a son named Irad. Irad became the father of Mehujael. Mehujael became the father of Methuselah. Methuselah became the father of Lamech. Lamech married two women. The first was named Ada, and the second was Zillah. Ada gave birth to Jabal, who was the first of those who raised livestock and live in tents. His brother's name was Jubal, the first of all who played the harp and flute. Lamech's other wife, Zillah, gave birth to a son named Tubal-Cain. He became an expert in forging tools of bronze and iron. Tubal-Cain had a sister named Naamah. One day, Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice. Listen to me, you wives of Lamech. I have killed a man who attacked me, a young man who wounded me. If someone who kills Cain is punished 7 times, then the one who kills me will be punished 77 times. And more of this story is not only found in that book I just mentioned, but it's also found in the book of remembrance of Enoch at the very beginning. It gives more detail about this. Okay. The birth of Seth. Adam had sexual relations with his wife again, and she gave birth to another son. She named him Seth, for she said, God has granted me another son in place of Abel, whom Cain killed. When Seth grew up, he had a son named him Enosh. At that time, people first began to worship the Lord by name. Genesis chapter 5. The descendants of Adam. This is the written account of the descendants of Adam. When God created human beings, he made them to be like himself. He created them male and female, and he blessed them and called them human. Notice here, we don't really talk about it a lot in the West, but nevertheless, it's still true. It says that he made them in his image, male and female. So remember, they are masculine and feminine traits about our creator, right, is just here on this plane. We're divided up so we can learn, right? We have to learn. We're sent here to learn about who we are and who our creator is. And we learn about our creator by learning about us. And over in the West, they don't really do us much justice because they just like to label him as a he. And you will see me most of the time labeling Yah as a he. But he is comprised of both male and feminine energy. Deborah, yeah, some people like to say androgynous. But I think we get the wrong understanding when we hear the word androgynous. So I don't really use that a lot. But know that male and female both comes out of our creator, out of Yah, right? So there are those aspects, but there are some religions that lean more to the feminine aspect. And if you notice, there's a lot of people talking about, well, God is female. I'm like, okay, well, you're half right. Some people say, well, God is male. And there's these unnecessary wars going on between religious factions and people who are waking up that are just seeing parts of the bigger picture. Yes, it's feminine and masculine energy, and they come together to create one powerful being, so to speak, if you want to put it that way, right? Okay, but we'll get more into that a little bit later because we're gonna hit on it. We have to hit on it, but not today. But I did want to bring it up, right? It said it. This is the written account of the descendants of Adam. When God created human beings, he made them to be like himself. He created them male and female, and he blessed them and called them human. When Adam was 130 years old, he became the father of a son who was just like him in his very image. He named his son Seth. After the birth of Seth, Adam lived another 800 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Adam lived 930 years, and then he died. When Seth was 105 years old, he became the father of Enosh. After the birth of Enosh, Seth lived another 807 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Seth lived 912 years, and then he died. When Enosh was 90 years old, he became the father of Canaan. After the birth of Canaan, Enosh lived another 815 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Enosh lived 905 years, and then he died. When Canaan was 70 years old, he became the father of Mahalalel. After the birth of Mahalalel, Canaan lived another 840 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Canaan lived 910 years, and then he died. When Mahalalel was 65 years old, he became the father of Jared. After the birth of Jared, Mahalalel lived another 830 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Mahalalel lived 895 years, and then he died. When Jared was 162 years old, he became the father of Enoch. After the birth of Enoch, Jared lived another 800 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Jared lived 962 years, and then he died. When Enoch was 65 years old, he became the father of Methuselah. After the birth of Methuselah, Enoch lived in close fellowship with God for another 300 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Enoch lived 365 years, walking in close fellowship with God. Then one day he disappeared because God took him. And we know that in the book of Jasher, it has a little bit more information about Enoch. You got the book of remembrance about Enoch. You got the book of Enoch and what he did. But Enoch still lives to this day, right? Enoch was completely transformed, right? And that's our goal, to be completely transformed like Enoch was, right? Okay. We'll get into it, y'all. When Enoch was 65 years old, he became the father of Methuselah. After the birth of Methuselah, Enoch lived in close fellowship with God for another 300 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Enoch lived 365 years, walking in close fellowship with God. Then one day he disappeared because God took him. When Methuselah was 187 years old, he became the father of Lamech. After the birth of Lamech, Methuselah lived another 782 years, And he had other sons and daughters. Methuselah lived 969 years, and then he died. When Lamech was 182 years old, he became the father of a son. Lamech named his son Noah, for he said, "May he bring us relief from our work and the painful labor of farming this ground that the Lord has cursed." After the birth of Noah, Lamech lived another 595 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Lamech lived 777 years, and then he died. After Noah was 500 years old, he became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Last chapter for today, Genesis chapter 6, a world gone wrong. Then the people began to multiply on the earth, and daughters were born to them. The sons of God saw the beautiful women and took any they wanted as their wives. Then the Lord said, "My spirit will not put up with humans for such a long time, for they are only mortal flesh. In the future, their normal lifespan will be no more than 120 years. In those days, and for some time after, giant Nephilites lived on the earth, for wherever the sons of God had intercourse with women, they gave birth to children who became the heroes and famous warriors of ancient times. The Lord observed the extent of human wickedness on the earth, and he saw everything that they thought or imagined was consistently and totally evil. So the Lord was sorry that he had ever made them and put them on the earth. It broke his heart. And the Lord said, "I will wipe this human race I have created from the face of the earth. Yes, I will destroy every living thing, all the people, the large animals, the small animals that scurry along the ground, and even the birds in the sky. I am sorry I ever made them." But Noah found favor with the Lord. The story of Noah. This is the account of Noah and his family. Noah was a righteous man, the only blameless person living on the earth at that time, and he walked in close fellowship with God. Noah was the father of 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now God saw that the earth had become corrupt and was filled with violence. God observed all this corruption in the world, for everyone on earth was corrupt. So God said to Noah, "I have decided to destroy all living creatures, for they have filled the earth with violence. Yes, I will wipe them all out along with the earth. Build a large boat from cypress wood and waterproof it with tar inside and out. Then construct decks and stalls throughout its interior. Make the boat 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. Leave an 18-inch opening below the roof all the way around the boat. Put the door on the side and build 3 decks inside the boat, lower, middle, and upper. Look, I am about to cover the earth with a flood that will destroy every living thing that breathes. Everything on earth will die, but I will confirm my covenant with you. So enter the boat, and you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring a pair of every kind of animal, a male and a female, into the boat with you to keep them alive during the flood. Pairs of every kind of bird and every kind of animal and every kind of small animal that scurries along the ground will come to you to be kept alive. And be sure to take on board enough food for your family and for all the animals." So Noah did everything exactly as God had commanded him. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today in the Torah, in Genesis. That was Genesis 4, 5, and 6. All right, so let me pull this up. Like I said, if you came in late, I said we were starting My Big Toe today. But I absolutely know. We're going to start this, but it's going to be a couple days. I came across a real live living document produced by the C.I.A. that was released in the early 2000s. I already posted it in the community section and on Facebook. So if you don't have the link, you can go pull it. So if you want to read along, I'm not sure if, depending on what kind of device you're on, you can read along with me, or you can just sit and listen and go to it later. But it's 30 pages long, and they're going into the details of the test that they did about meditation and the human body and what the human body is capable of. So we ain't just talking a bunch of crap here, right? That's why I said we have to start testing this. Y'all got to, whether you got your prayer language, you want to pray in tongues, that's what we call it here on the West. But over in the East, they call it chanting. But it does the same thing to the body, right? And even the CIA knows this, and they're using it. They're using it as weapons against us, people, right? They're taking what they're learning about the bodies and using it against us. So it would behoove us to get smart about who we are, who y'all created us to be, and the power that we truly have, right? And to keep us bogged down and to keep us enslaved and not being able to fight back against them, they do everything to fill our eyes with what seems good to us. The fast food, everything that destroys the body, everything that destroys what we need to truly live and fight back against the tyranny. We're willingly killing ourselves, calcifying our pineal gland where we can't see. And they found out that it truly is the seat of the soul, or the seat of the creator truly resides on it. Inside of every single human being. Every single human being has a pineal gland. You know how people be throwing up the sign and they say, oh, it's Illuminati. It's not, people. It's representing you. It's representing us and what's inside of us. And if you go to the community section where I shared some of these things about the body, you can see that symbol. Matter of fact, I'm going to share another one, right? And actually the symbol of the third eye, Egypt was so proficient in the body and knowing about the body and what it did, that they actually, with that symbol, the third eye symbol, whether it's the right side or the left, they know how much energy flows off of each symbol in the brain. Is actually maybe a ventricle or some part of the brain, but each particular line in that symbol of the third eye gives out a certain amount of energy. I'm gonna share that today on Facebook and in a community section, right? I found it. So I'm going to share it and I'm going to give you the little blurb that I found out about it. So we really trying to unspookify and demystify a lot of this stuff so we can get on with the getting on, people. All right. Okay. So hold on. Let me pull this document up. Okay. So if you don't have it, oh shoot, what happened? So I'm praying and hoping, because this was it was put out by the CIA. I'm hoping I ain't doing nothing to endanger my channel by reading this out aloud, because it's been put out there by them. They released it. Of course, they screw up what they wanted to screw up from it, but it's still enough information in here to let y'all know, people, pay attention. Like y'all have to stop doing things that defile your bodies. For people, especially some of my Hebrew brothers and sisters, and we ain't really got into it for real yet, but y'all have to wake up too. Like you've woken up a little bit, and so I can see just by conversations I've had with other people, and they're realizing that there is not an outside savior that's going to come and get us. Right? You come from the church, hoping and praying that Jesus is going to come get you via the rapture. Then you realize, okay, something wrong with this. Something, all right, y'all's waking me up. Okay, what? It wasn't even really nobody named Jesus for real. So we go through this process of waking up, but we tend to get stuck with the same thing. We just change the name of this savior or whatever. You don't realize this. Let me make sure I say this right. I'm not sure some people can handle this just yet, but that savior you're looking for has been with you all the time. Like, it's inside of you, right? The New Testament talks about it. The Old Testament talks about it. Different religious factions talk about it, but it's encoded within a story, and you can't see it when you're blind, right? And you begin to get more aware, become more aware of your surroundings and your body. Thank you, Ali. I am that savior. We are the saviors, right? Saviors, put an S, all of us. We are, y'all. And I know that sounds like blasphemy to some people, but don't unsubscribe just yet. Just please stay and listen. Hear out the full matter before you call me a heretic, people. And you have to be practicing this so you can see that what I'm saying, what we are stumbling upon, is the absolute truth, and it can be tested, and you can test it. That's why I'm trying to give you everything that I've got, so you can just take it and do as thou wilt, but at least look into it, people. Right? Okay. All right. So that's enough of that for now. Let's get to this letter. Approved for release, September the 10th, 2003. CIA, it has the number, all that. Department of the Navy, right? U.S. Army Operational Group, U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command, Fort George Meade, Maryland. And it has a zip code. Okay, the subject is analysis and assessment of gateway process. They call it gateway process, people. This is not like some operation gateway. They're talking about the gateway to the spiritual realm, the gateway that's inside of here. Okay, so this is what the letter look like. Y'all see it? It's a department. Anybody private military, y'all know what these letters look like, right? Go pull it up. If you want to pull it up later, I posted already. And now, hold on. Hold on, let me see if I can. Let me see if I can post it in here real quick. Hold on. Okay. Adia, shalom, shalom. Okay, there you go. That's the document right there, just in case you don't have it. Okay. All right. 2, the Commander, U.S. Army Operational Group, Fort Meade, Maryland. Okay. This first portion, it's numbered in paragraphs. Okay, number 1. You tasked me to provide an assessment of the gateway experience in terms of its mechanics and ultimate practicality. As I set out to fulfill that tasking, it soon became clear that in order to assess the validity and practicality of the process, I needed to do enough supporting research and analysis to fully understand how and why the process works. I'm sorry, Dana. I didn't give you the link up here. Hold on. I'm sorry. I should have posted it. Hold on. Let me put it in the comment section here. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry, Facebook. Okay. You got it? Linda, shalom. Okay. And y'all got to bear with me because these words is kind of small up here. I need something to make sure I don't lose my spot up here. Need a little piece of paper or something. Hold on. Oh, I can use this. Hold on. What in the world are they doing? What in the world? My kids? I know it's something sticky. I can't even get that thing. And, all right, just bear with me. Bear with me. Okay. Hold on. As I set out to fulfill that tasking, it soon became clear that in order to assess the validity and practicality of the process, I needed to do enough supporting research and analysis to fully understand how and why the process works. Frankly, sir, that proved to be an extremely involved and difficult business. Initially, based on the conversations with the physician who took the gateway training with me, I had recourse to the biomedical models developed by Itzhak Bentov to obtain information concerning the physical aspects of the process. Then I found it necessary to delve into various sources for information concerning quantum mechanics in order to be able to describe the nature and functioning of human consciousness. I had to be able to construct a scientifically valid and reasonably lucid model of how consciousness functions under the influence of the brain hemisphere synchronization technique employed by the gateway. Once this was done, the next step involved recourse to theoretical physics in order to explain the character of the time-space dimension and the means by which expanded human consciousness transcends in its achieving gateway's objective. Finally, I again found it necessary to use physics to bring the whole phenomenon of out-of-body states into the language of physical science to remove the stigma of its occult connotations and put it in a frame of reference suited to the objective assessment. Even they said, right here, even they said right here, they had to remove all the scary parts about it, right? Remove it from its occultic framing so you can see. And that's exactly what this book, My Big Toe, does. That's what I'm telling y'all. A lot of stuff that they tell you in church is witchcraft and wizardry and stuff like that. It is not. It is a part of your body. They just don't know how to use it, and they don't teach you how to use it. But it is like, my son came down here yesterday and I cut him off. Before we had this conversation live, we had to talk about that a little bit privately. And sometimes he come asking, he'll do it on purpose. He'll come asking questions, knowing the answer and what we talk about, but he kind of he's like, won't you just speed it up and just get right to it and tell them? I was like, I can do that, but I can't. I need them to be able to see it, because sometimes if you just throw out a lot of information, it's like, okay, what are you saying? I was like, I have to take them to a process so they can see every step of the way, right? He came down here and say, what is our birthright, right? If y'all were listening yesterday and I kind of cut them off real quick, peep that, because we talk about it. But yeah, this is literally our birthright, and they've taken our birthright from literally everybody. It's not just black people or white people, whatever. It's a human race, right? There's a race of us, and all of us who are born here on this earth, we have these things inside of our bodies that allow us to do this. And we were put here. When I say earth is a school, earth is a school, but we have rogue teachers down here in every faction of the world. There are rogue teachers that keep information to themselves, and they call it secret. Well, it's only secret because you don't know about it yet, but you should know about it. It was never meant to be secret, right? So I hope my channel don't get destroyed because of some of the stuff I'm about to share with y'all. I'm letting y'all know what these secrets are, because it should be us. This information belongs to us. Look. Okay. I'm going to read this last sentence again. Finally, I again found it necessary to use physics to bring the whole phenomenon of out-of-body states into the language of physical science, to remove the stigma of its occult connotations and put it in a frame of reference suited to objective assessment. Paragraph number 2. I began the narrative by briefly profiling the fundamental biomedical factors affecting such related techniques as hypnosis, biofeedback, and transcendental meditation, so that their objective and mode of functioning could be compared in the reader's mind with the gateway experience as the model of its underlying mechanics that was, I'm sorry, hold on. I lost my space. Hold on. Let me just go back. I began the narrative by briefly profiling the fundamental biomedical factors affecting such related techniques as hypnosis, biofeedback, and transcendental meditation, so that their objective and mode of functioning could be compared in the reader's mind with the gateway experience as the model of its underlying mechanics was developed. Additionally, that introductory material is useful in supporting the conclusions of the paper. I indicate that at times these related techniques may prove useful entry points to accelerate movement into the gateway experience. So remember what he's explaining here. You know how I tell you, okay, so you got regular prayer, and then when you begin to pray in tongues or chant, that's like, prayer is like the car, but praying in tongues or chanting is like that. It's like taking an airplane or a train. It speeds up the process of spiritual things that will begin to happen to you. And then when you add fasting on top of that, it's like that airplane becomes a friggin' rocket ship, right? Because you start seeing things happen like immediately, pretty much immediately. Okay. Y'all gotta stick with me. Y'all stick with me. If you get lost, just go back to your last point of comprehension where you understood what I was saying at that point. Go back there and just pick it up from there and come back through, y'all. Just, whew, yes. We will get into all that. Highly vibrations, frequency, ascension, all this stuff. Yo, look, okay. All right. I indicate that at times these related techniques may provide useful entry points to accelerate movement into the gateway experience. And they're calling the process of transcendental like meditation and stuff, they're labeling this the gateway experience. Okay, paragraph 3. Niels Bohr, this is a renowned physicist. Just in case you want to look him up, it's spelled Niels, and his last name is Bohr, Bohr. Niels Bohr, the renowned physicist, once responded to his son's complaints about the obtuse nature of certain concepts in physics by saying, "You are not thinking, you are merely being logical. The physics of altered human consciousness deals with some of the conceptualizations that are not easily grasped or visualized exclusively in the context of ordinary left brain linear thinking." So, to borrow Dr. Bohr's mode of expression, parts of this paper will require not only logic, but a touch of right brain intuitive insight to achieve a complete, comfortable grasp of the concepts involved. Nevertheless, once that is done, I am confident that their construction and application will stand up to the test of rational critique. Number 4, paradoxically, having gone to such great lengths to avoid trying to render judgments based on an occult or dogmatic frame of reference, in the end, I found it necessary to return, at least briefly, to the question of the impact of the gateway experience on common belief systems. I did so because, although it was essential to avoid attempting to render an assessment in the context of such systems, I felt that it was necessary, after having completed the analysis, to point out that the resulting conclusions do not do any violence to the fundamental mainstream of either Eastern or Western belief systems. Let me read that again, just in case you didn't catch it. Listen. I did so because, although it was essential to avoid attempting the reader an assessment, I did so because, although it was essential to avoid attempting to render an assessment in the context of such systems, of religious systems, I felt that it was necessary, after having completed the analysis, to point out that the resulting conclusions do not do any violence to the fundamental mainstream of either Eastern or Western belief systems. So what it's saying is, after practicing it, even people who are in these religions, it doesn't necessarily, it doesn't go against what they believe. It actually helps them to develop. And we'll see this as we go along. Okay. Unless that point is clearly established, the danger exists that some people will reject the whole concept of the gateway experience in the mistaken belief that it contradicts and is thereto alien to all that they hold to be right and true, right? So that's what he's saying. He said, we got to make this absolutely clear, right? This what you're about to experience, it has nothing to do with religion. It's pretty much a principle that functions in this earth no matter where you go, whether you're in the West or you in the East, you in the North or the South. He said that point must be established and must be understood. Otherwise, like we know here in the West, we're going to reject it altogether. Oh, that's occultic. Get out of here, because we don't understand, right? He made it very clear about that. Number 5, this study is certainly not designed to be the last word on the subject, but I hope that the validity of its basic structure and of the fundamental concepts upon which it is based will make it a useful guide for other UNISCOM, and it's USAINSCOM. It's an acronym that the military uses. Personnel who are required to take. Let me read the whole sentence again. This study is certainly not designed to be the last word on the subject, but I hope that the validity of its basic structure and of the fundamental concepts upon which it is based will make it a useful guide for other UNISCOM personnel who are required to take the gateway training or work with gateway materials. And that's Wayne McDonald, Lieutenant Commander, and that was the end of his introduction before this actual experience. Okay, so the gateway experience, the brain hemisphere synchronization and perspective. Introduction. In order to describe the Monroe Institute technique for achieving altered states of consciousness, and that's what they call the gateway experience, because by meditating, whether you're in prayer or you're in the West and you're using yoga to achieve this, in the West we do it with prayer and meditation as well. But when we begin to experience it, they call it something different. They call it open visions or out of body experiences, but it's the same thing. We're talking about the same things here. Okay. It's an altered state of consciousness that gives you access to the unseen or to the spiritual realm, right? Okay. In order to describe the Monroe Institute technique for achieving altered states of consciousness, the gateway experience, involving the brain hemisphere synchronization or Hemi sync, the most effective way to begin is to briefly profile the basic mechanics which underlay operation of related methods such as hypnosis, Transcendental Meditation, and biofeedback. It is easiest to effectively describe what gateway is by beginning with a short description of those associated techniques that share some common aspects with the gateway experience, but which are nevertheless different. In this way, we can develop a frame of reference at the outset, which will provide useful concepts to explain and understand gateway by comparison as we proceed. Paragraph 2, hypnosis. Yeah, Dark Knight said astral traveling. I've done it a few times. And you got to be careful. You got to be careful. We talked about it before. Some people, when they start getting into it, they'll just go Googling and go, especially going to YouTube, and people sometimes giving their experiences. But you have to be careful about the people who tell you about their experience and how they tapped into it, right? That's why I say just take the long road, take the manual road as we learn about each individual piece. And then it will begin to happen naturally. But you got to get your body to a point. You got to do the work. You got to clean your body. You got to deal with the emotions and stuff. Because if you access that realm before doing that, before cleaning it up, you're going to run into things that you haven't cleaned up about yourself yet. And it might be a terrifying experience for you. You might run into dark entities. You may run into other human beings who are astral projecting and like to mess with people in that realm. That's what I'm saying. A lot of times some people think demons be playing with them or messing with them. Sometimes it's really other human beings that know how to access that realm, and they want to screw with you, especially if they got a hatred for you. So you got to be careful. But we're going to learn how to go through. We're going to talk about these things, y'all. Okay. Number 2, hypnosis. According to the theories of psychologist Ronald Stone and the biomedical engineering models of Itzhak Bentov, that's another physicist, and it's spelled Itzhak is Itshak, and his last name Bentov, Bentov, just in case you want to look him up. Okay. According to the theories of psychologist Ronald Stone and the biomedical engineer models of Itzhak Bentov, hypnosis is basically a technique which permits acquisition of direct access to the sensory, motor cortex, and pleasure centers and lower cerebral, emotional portions and associated pleasure centers of the right side of the human brain following successful disengagement of the stimulus screening function of the left hemisphere of the brain. The left hemisphere of the brain is the self-cognitive, verbal, and linear reasoning component of the mind. It fulfills the function of screening incoming stimuli by categorizing, assessing, and assigning meaning prior to allowing passage to the right hemisphere of the mind. The right hemisphere, which functions as the non-critical, holistic, non-verbal, and pattern-oriented component of the brain, appears to accept what the left hemisphere passes to it without question. Consequently, if the left hemisphere can be distracted either through boredom or through reduction to a soporific semi-sleep state, external stimuli to include hypnotic suggestions are allowed to pass unchallenged into the right hemisphere, where they are accepted and acted upon directly. Pay attention, y'all. The result may involve an emotional reaction originating in the lower cerebral region, sensory motor responses requiring involvement of the cortex, and so on. But both the sensory and the motor cortices of the right cerebral portion of the brain contain a sequence of points known as the homunculus, which corresponds to points in the body. See Exhibit 1. It's on the next page. I'll show it to you. You probably can't read it, but if you got the document, you will see. He has the brain, all this stuff in here. All right, I'm showing it on Facebook. I'm going to lift it up a little bit higher for YouTube in a second. So, but if you have the link, you can click on a link and you can go to that. But just in case somebody here who clicked on the link and can't pull it up for some reason, your phone might be acting squirrely. That's Exhibit 1. And it's parts of the brain, left brain, right brain, the hemispheres, and you probably can't read all those little words around it, but it's there. Okay, yeah, with the second paragraph called hypnosis. Okay, let me go back. Okay. Stimulation of the corresponding area on the cortex causes intermediate responses in the associated portion of the body. Consequently, induction of the suggestion that the left leg is numb, if it reaches the right hemisphere unchallenged and is referred to the appropriate area of the sensory cortex, will result in an electrical reaction being generated that will induce the feeling of numbness. Did y'all pay attention to that? Remember how I've been talking about teaching me how to cut off my pain sensors and stuff? Let me read this again. Pay attention, y'all. This might sound like a bunch of medical mumbo jumbo. You might have to read it a couple times to understand, especially if you're not in the habit of reading these type of documents. It might just be a bunch of words, but just slow down. Reread it till you understand it, right? So that's why I'm bringing in a lot of different information from different areas that's saying the same thing to help you kind of get it to click a lot faster, because sometimes we don't get it to like the third or the fourth and sometimes the seventh time of hearing it from different areas to see that we all talking about the same thing. Oh, okay. All right. So listen, I'm going to say that again. Hold on. Consequently, let me go back up. Stimulation of the corresponding area on the cortex causes intermediate response in the associated portion of the body. Consequently, induction of the suggestion that the left leg is numb. So something is suggesting to you that your left leg is numb. Listen. Consequently, induction of the suggestion that the left leg is numb, if it reaches the right hemisphere unchallenged and is referred to the appropriate area of the sensory cortex, will result in an electrical reaction being generated that will induce the feeling of numbness. Similarly, the suggestion that the person is experiencing a general feeling of happiness and well-being would be referred to the appropriate pleasure centers located in the lower cerebral portion or in the cortex of the right hemisphere, thereby inducing the suggested feeling of euphoria. So if y'all ever seen in movies or seen somebody hypnotize somebody. There's a process that they always use to kind of divert your attention from what they're doing. And by doing that, you're bypassing your conscious mind. What happens on the left side of your brain, they're like, wait a minute, hold on, what is that? You ain't about to do that to me. Right? It's like the gatekeeper, so it doesn't pass over into the right brain, because once it gets over into the right side, the right hemisphere of the brain, the right side thinks it's automatically programmed the way it was designed. Whatever passes through the gatekeeper must be authorized to be here. So we're going to go ahead and fire off what needs to happen. Okay, let me see your papers. Okay, boom, boom, boom. And the right hemisphere going to press the appropriate buttons. Oh, left leg numbness. Make the left leg numb, please. And there you go. You can't feel your left leg. Whatever the left brain passes to the right side is automatically taken in stone as truth. Like, you got past the gatekeeper. So, okay, we're just following, it's literally following orders, and it's producing those things in your body that the left side of your brain has allowed to pass over, if that makes better sense to y'all. Okay. So it's the left by the hypnotizing thing and the television watching. It's hypnotizing the left side of your brain. It's trying to get past those gatekeepers. That's why with social media, you got children getting hooked on social media, because it's attacking that left side of the brain, getting past them gatekeepers, making the right brain think it's true. And now you got these teenagers, they got these self-esteem issues, and they're killing themselves because what they're seeing there now is gotten to the right side of the brain, and they're believing it about themselves, and they're believing it's true. Oh, the world would be better off without me. All these types of things are happening because we're being hypnotized through games, through movies, and we don't really know what's going on. They're taking advantage of our own gifts that we have that we're completely clueless about. Okay. Let me go back and read this again. Stimulation of the corresponding area on the cortex causes intermediate response in the associated portion of the body. Consequently, induction of the suggestion that the left leg is numb, if it reaches the right hemisphere unchallenged and is referred to the appropriate area of the sensory cortex, will result in an electrical reaction being generated that will induce the feeling of numbness. Similarly, the suggestion that the person is experiencing a general feeling of happiness and well-being would be referred to the appropriate pleasure centers located in the lower cerebral portion or in the cortex of the right hemisphere, thereby inducing the suggested feeling of euphoria. Finally, concentration or powers of memory would be responded to in the right hemisphere by accessing unused information storage capacity normally held in reserve as a result of the left hemisphere selection and control processes. This aspect will become significant in the context of the gateway process when attention is given to examining the way that hypnosis may be used to accelerate progress in the early stages of the gateway experience. Okay, the next paragraph 3. I know we're a little bit over out, but I'm going to just read a little bit more, y'all. Number 3, Transcendental Meditation. On the other hand, Transcendental Meditation works in a distinctly different fashion. In this technique, intense and protracted single-minded concentration on the process of drawing energy up the spinal cord ultimately results in what appears to be creation of acoustical standing waves in the cerebral ventricles, which are then conducted to the gray matter in the cerebral cortex on the right side of the brain. As a result, according to Bentov, these waves will stimulate and eventually polarize the cortex in such a way that it will tend to conduct a signal along the I keep pronouncing this word wrong. Homunculus, 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 starting from the Oh, snap. I just thought about something that was happening to me. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I can call my sister. Who was talking about this? Okay, hold on. Let me read the sentence again. In this technique, intense and protracted single-minded concentration on the process of drawing energy up the spinal cord ultimately results in what appears to be creation of acoustical standing waves in the cerebral ventricles, which are then conducted to the gray matter in the cerebral cortex on the right side of the brain. As a result, according to Bentov, these waves will stimulate and eventually polarize the cortex in such a way that it will tend to conduct a signal along the homunculus starting from the toes and up. The Bentov biomedical model, as described in a book by Lee Sanella, MD, entitled Kundalini Psychosis or Transcendents. I'm going to read the name of this book again, y'all. Kundalini Psychosis or Transcendents. And it's by Lee Sanella, Sannella. It's a medical doctor. Okay. The Bentov biomedical model, as described in a book by Lee Sanella, MD, entitled Kundalini Psychosis or Transcendence, states that the standing acoustical waves are the result of the altered rhythm of the heart sounds, which are occasioned by prolonged practice of meditation and which set up sympathetic vibrations in the walls of the fluid-filled cavities, which comprise the third and the lateral ventricles of the brain. So if y'all watch in the community section on YouTube, and I also posted on Facebook in separate posts yesterday, the little short animation videos that I was showing you about the cerebral spinal fluid and how it fills the brain, that's what it's talking about. When you're meditating, and when you're sitting there and you're meditating, what begins to happen to that fluid in your brain? That's what it's talking about right here. Okay, let me go back and read the sentence again. Okay. The Bentov biomedical model, as described in a book by Lee Sanella, MD, entitled Kundalini Psychosis or Transcendence, states that the standing acoustical waves are the result of the altered rhythm of the heart sounds, which are occasioned by prolonged practice of meditation and which set up sympathetic vibrations in the walls of the fluid-filled cavities, which comprise the third and the lateral ventricles of the brain. In addition, according to Bentov, the states of bliss described by those whose Kundalini symptoms have completed the full loop along the hemisphere may be explained as a self-stimulation of the pleasure centers in the brain caused by the circulation of a current along the sensory cortex. Bentov also notes that most of the described symptoms start on the left side of the body, means that it is mostly a development occurring in the right hemisphere. Although normally a period of meditation involving intense concentration and practice for 5 years or some is required to bring up the Kundalini. Bentov states that exposure to mechanical or acoustical vibrations in the range of 4 to 7 hertz cycles per second for protracted periods may achieve the same effect, right? So that's why I tell y'all have to be diligent. So he was saying the people not using anything else, not using binaural beats or anything outside of just themselves, by being disciplined in about 5 years. And that sounds like, oh my gosh, what? Give me results now. you'll start to see some results as you begin to build up and you begin to be diligent with it. But just by yourself, using nothing else but yourself. And that's really how it should be. Sometimes you may need some music or something to help with it, and you can do that, right? But there is a way to do it where you can literally just use your own body, right? The chemistry, the alchemy within your own body. You can just use your body and your body alone, right? But you have to be diligent. But using binaural beats, what he was talking about, the hertz and the sounds and all those things, you see people with meditation bowls and things like that. Those are extra things that they bring in to help them meditate, to get them into that state faster. Those things are not wrong. They will work. You can use them if you want to, but there is a way, because you have sounds, all those extra things, those sounding, singing bowls, those binaural beats, all those sound waves can be produced with your own body. I am the candle, G. I am the candle. I am the light. I am the fire. I am the water. I am the ether. I am the earth. I am the wind, right? All of that is in me already. And when you become disciplined and focused, you're able to manipulate the elements within inside of you. And you can literally enter into the spiritual realm. My people, listen. Oh, this gets so good. Hold on. Listen, okay. I'm going to go back. Although normally a period of meditation involving intense concentration and practice for 5 years or some is required to bring up the Kundalini. Bentov states that exposure to mechanical or acoustical vibrations in the range of 4 to 7 hertz or cycles per second for protracted periods may achieve the same effect. Bentov cites as an example repeated riding in a car Bentov cites as an example repeated riding in a car whose suspension and seat combination produce that range of vibrations, or being exposed for long periods of time to these frequencies caused, for instance, by an air conditioning duct. He also notes that the cumulative effect of these vibrations may be able to trigger a spontaneous physio Kundalini sequence in susceptible people who have a particularly sensitive nervous system. Meaning you can cause Kundalini to rise in somebody else, especially somebody who's really susceptible to things. If you know what you're doing, you can pretty much control other people, right? It's the power of these bodies and what's happening. Okay, so that's the end of the paragraph 3 up here. Biofeedback is next, and I think we're gonna hold on. Lamp first, let's say. Maybe I should go through lamp versus lesser, gateway. Maybe I should stop at 7. Okay, I'm going to stop at 7 because all these kind of go together. I don't know, Dana. Possibly. Maybe. I wonder when people shake their legs if it's creating a vibration. Possibly. Possibly. I guess it just depends on, the nervous energy, ADHD. Possibly. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it at all, especially with children. They call it ADHD, but there's something they haven't been taught how to redirect that energy that's going off inside of them, right? They don't really have their parents probably don't know, and there's nobody around. They just give them some medicine to calm them down. And you should never do that because you're killing a natural cycle that's happening on the inside of them. And they just need a little bit of training. They need to be directed. They need to be shown what to do with it. Right? Okay. So let's read this paragraph 5. Gateway and Hemi sync. Yes, self-healing vibrations frequency, Ali. Okay. Now that we have briefly profiled the basic mechanics of the principal techniques for altering or expanding consciousness, which share some of the objectives and or methods employed in the gateway experience, we may proceed to focus on what that technique actually involves. Fundamentally, the gateway experience is a training system designed to bring enhanced strength, focus, and coherence to the amplitude and frequency of brainwave output between the left and right hemisphere so as to alter consciousness, moving it outside of the physical sphere so as to ultimately escape even the restrictions of time and space. The participant then gains access to the various levels of intuitive knowledge which the universe offers. Let me read that again, y'all. Did we skip 4? Oh, we did. Thank you, Audrey. Oh my gosh. I did. I skipped. I'm sorry. I'll hold that comment for later. Okay. Go back to number 4. Biofeedback. Thank you for that. I was seeing where I was going to stop it and I forgot to swipe it back one more. Okay. Number 4, biofeedback. Thank you so much. The third conscious altering methodology, which will be briefly described as biofeedback. Biofeedback is somewhat unique in that it actually employs the self-cognitive powers of the left hemisphere to gain access to such areas of the right brain as the lower cerebral, motor, and sensory cortices and assorted pain or pleasure centers. Hold on. Instead of suppressing the left hemisphere, as is done in hypnosis, or largely bypassing and ignoring it, as is done in Transcendental Meditation, biofeedback teaches the left hemisphere first to visualize the desired result and then to recognize the feelings associated with the experience of successful right hemisphere access to the specific lower cerebral cortex, pain or pleasure, or other areas in the manner needed to produce the desired result. Special self-monitoring devices, such as the digital thermometer, are used to inform the left brain when it succeeds in keying the right hemisphere into accessing the appropriate area. Once this is done, the left brain can then repeatedly instruct the right brain to reestablish the pathways involved so as to produce the same external objective measures of success. In this way, the pathways are strengthened and emphasized to such an extent that the left brain consciousness is enabled to access appropriate areas in the right brain using a conscious demand mode. For example, if the subject wishes to increase the circulation in the left leg in order to speed up healing, he may concentrate with his left brain on achieving that result while carefully monitoring a digital thermometer connected to the left leg. When the concentrated effort begins to achieve success, the digital thermometer will register an increase in the temperature of the left leg. At that point, the subject can mentally, left brain, associate the sensations experienced with the result achieved and can begin to emphasize by memory recall the same process to cause its strengthening by affirmation and repetition. So anybody ever go to self-help things or seminars or even learning in school, the process of just constantly repeating something until it's drilled in the process, if you don't get it, constantly repeating is a left brain activity that helps you to get that information to the right side of the brain, so the right side of the brain can go and store it so you can have it and your body begins to operate. When I tell y'all, These bodies are literally vehicles that our spirit drives while we're here in this plane. These bodies are vehicles that our spirits drive while we are here in this friggin' plane. So what we have to do now, we have to get affirmative action, right? We have to break all the mind spells and stuff that have been done to us, so we now can begin to control our own brains, right? And even in a healing process, there are people, and they're called Reiki. I think they're called Reiki healers, right? I think it's spelled Reiki. I may have spelled it wrong. Forgive me if a Reiki healer is here, but they're able. They understand, and they've tapped into energy and understanding that there are multiple ways to heal the body, to whereas this particular thing in a church is called like miracles. No, they're just masters of healing the bodies with energy, right? And they've able to tap into that, and they literally can heal with their hands. They're called Reiki masters or healers, and you can do that. Once you begin to understand this, you can do this. And a lot of time we can, by default, we're learning how to clean up our bodies through our diet, which is absolutely a big part of it, right? But once you become more proficient and efficient and understanding how these bodies work and how you can use your own energy to bring healing to your body, you can literally begin to, what the church say, lay your hands on yourself and heal your body, right? Because you understand it's not so super spiritual. We just need to understand how these bodies were created and how we can tap into their energy. And there's nothing satanic or demonic about it whatsoever. The church do it. They just put different names on it, right? Some do it knowingly. Some learn how to do ignorantly and still don't know what they're doing, right? But I thought this was so good to read. Listen, okay. When the concentrated effort begins to achieve success, the digital thermometer will register an increase in the temperature of the left leg. At that point, the subject can mentally, left brain, associate the sensations experienced with the result achieved and can begin to emphasize by memory recall the same process to cause its strengthening by affirmation and repetition. In this way, pain can be blocked. Yo, pain sensors. Look, hold on. I learned about some different things when you get to deeper meditation states. And I told you, you're able to cut off your pain sensors and stuff. So if you get caught somewhere or whatever, it's too cold. I mean, you don't have to tell anybody you're doing it, but it could be freezing cold outside. And sometimes I wonder about different people. I wonder if they're to that state, or they just have a high tolerance for cold, or possibly I wonder if they've tapped into something and they want to wear flip flops or whatever. They out there in the cold, but they've cut off their pain sensors, so they're not feeling that whipping cold. Or when it's hot, you can turn that hotness off, and you can walk in complete coolness. Like, that is a thing. And they call it in the West, not the West, in the East, they call it reaching that particular city, right? It's in the West, it would be considered a superpower. Not really a superpower. You just don't understand how to do it with your body, but you can do it, my G. Yo, hold up. When we get to this, look, okay, let me just keep reading. At that point, the subject can mentally, left brain, associate the sensations experienced with the result achieved and can begin to emphasize by memory recall the same process to cause its strengthening by affirmation and repetition. In this way, pain can be blocked, healing can be enhanced, malignant tumors can apparently be suppressed and ultimately destroyed, the body's pleasure centers can be stimulated, and a variety of specific psychological results may be achieved. In addition, biofeedback may be used to greatly accelerate achievement of deep meditative states, particularly for beginners who have no experience in meditative techniques and whose progress in that methodology is enhanced through effective visualization and external objective affirmation. Display of the subject's brainwave pattern on a cathode ray tube has proven to be a laboratory validated means by which subjects may quickly learn to place themselves in profoundly relaxed states characterized by the sort of quietude and singularity of mental focus associated with advanced meditation. Now, let me tell you what happens when you get into that particular state of advanced meditation. You lose you don't necessarily lose awareness, but like there is no time there. It's crazy. I'm still trying to figure this part out because I called my sister. I said, girl, I don't know where the time went. I was there and it's like I only closed my eyes for a second. But when I opened them, 10 minutes had elapsed. I'm like, holy crap, wait, what? I started testing it. So I was meditating and I closed my eyes and it really seemed, I kid you not, I did it back to back. And I was using the help of it wasn't binaural beats, but it was a binaural beat playing in the background. It's like you can almost immediately, what he's talking about for those who are just beginning so they can begin to just practice meditation, there is a way to help it. So I was actually testing this and I was like, okay, because some people, they go into meditation and they're there like for hours. I'm like, okay, I got too many kids, got things going on. So I'm going to do it in like increments of 10 just to see. And it seemed like I had just blinked my eyes, right? Literally just, you know how you just take a couple breaths, open your eyes. That's what it felt like. And I had a clock, but 10 minutes had elapsed. Every single time I did, I'm like, what in the world? And I'm like, hold on. And so I did it again, paying attention to the time. I'm right into that meditative state. And then, because it's like, okay, you tell your mind 10 minutes and in 10 minutes exactly, you're going to come to. I'm still trying to figure out how it works, but I know it friggin' works. It's like you alerted, okay, 10 minutes up, and immediately eyes come open, awareness is back. I'm like, another 10 minutes. So now 20 minutes, a little over 20 minutes have elapsed now. I'm like, this has got to be a freaking fluke. Pam, pay attention. What is you doing? Okay. Do it again. Next thing I know, I'm in that meditative state. And then I come to again. And it's 10 minutes later. I'm like, God darn it. What is happening? You know, I'm like, okay, try and remember what's happening during this time. After I got done, y'all, I did that for I kept doing it back to back to back until an hour had passed. And it literally only felt like I had been sitting there for about 5 minutes. I had to call my sister. I said, I don't know what in the world is happening. I'm trying to figure this out. I'm testing it. I was like, girl. I say, and every time I did it, I'm testing myself. I think she at work. She's working a night shift. But she'll tell you about the day that I called her, telling her about this. This was a few weeks ago, you know, because I'm trying to just do more deeper meditation and stuff. I'm like, okay, because I'm trying to pull things out of the spiritual realm, not necessarily to change, but to just to look at my life personally, right? Okay, let's move to the next level. How do we do this, y'all? Okay, show me how to, okay. Just go, just take me to the throne, right? I'm knocking. Look, this girl trying to get up here. I'm like, hey, I'm coming. See, look, someone know I'm coming. Look, I need to know what's going on down here. So it's like I'm just practicing. I'm like, all right, y'all help me. But so my prayer and meditation is getting better. So, but this is what it's talking about for those meditation techniques. You're right, Ollie. We cannot live without this. We cannot live without this. This literally, it gets us to the realm we need, like all these prayers and stuff. I like listen to somebody. I forget her name, but she was talking about, she had happened upon it, you know, just through her prayer, and she was doing a lot of praying in tongues. But she said she couldn't quite explain it. She just know when it get to a certain level, she know that when she prays at that time, she said, that's when she start praying. She start dropping her pudding list, right? So she got this list of things that she would pray about, but she would notice when she would pray in tongues at this certain moment it's like she could feel a electricity or vibration through prayer. You know, sometimes you get goosebumps, and you call it feeling the presence of God. I was like, whoo, like that point right there. She said she knew right there, whatever she prayed at that point, she almost got like immediate results. And so this is like some of those same things, but people are describing it differently, but they're getting like to that same place, right? Okay. But we all growing together, y'all. Look, facts, 144%. And I know this to be true. And you can do it in a lot of different ways. And we talk, one of the ways is they call it tantric sex or whatever. But I don't recommend you out there having sex willy-nilly with anybody. It really should be between a committed couple, preferably husband and wife, spouse, because that's another way to engage that realm and get there and offer prayers to Yah, so to see things manifest. Through that, it takes two people to do it. Yeah, manifestation power. And it happens. There's a few different ways you can do it. It's not one set way, or like Jesus is the only way, like the church say. There, as you see, this world is amazing the way Yah made it and the way he made us and made us to experience it, right? Okay, listen. Okay. Hold on. I could talk all day about this. Okay. In addition, biofeedback may be used to greatly accelerate achievement of deep meditative states, particularly for beginners who have no experience in meditative techniques and whose progress in that methodology is enhanced through effective visualization and external objective affirmation. Display of the subject's brainwave pattern on a cathode ray tube has proven to be a laboratory validated means by which subjects may quickly learn to place themselves in profoundly relaxed states characterized by the sort of quietude and singularity of mental focus associated with advanced meditation. Okay, now we're going back to 5. Where we at? An hour, 30 minutes? Let me read this one, and then we'll stop. I ain't going to go to 7. We'll just pick it back up after this one because I started reading this a little bit earlier. Okay, number 5. Gateway and Hemi sync. Now that we have briefly profiled the basic mechanics of the principal techniques for altering or expanding consciousness, which share some of the objectives and or methods employed in the gateway experience, we may proceed to focus on what that technique actually involves. Fundamentally, the gateway experience is a training system designed to bring enhanced strength, focus, and coherence to the amplitude and frequency of brainwave output between the left and right hemispheres, so as to alter consciousness, moving it outside the physical sphere, so as to ultimately escape even the restrictions of time and space. The participant then gains access to the various levels of intuitive knowledge which the universe offers. So when you get there, you're able to pull that information out of the ether, or like people say, got this information from the universe. I tend to call the universe Yah, right? So Yah downloads that. I don't know. I'm familiar with the term, the name Yah, right? So Yah downloads that information to me, right? And that's what happens. That's how people, like in this book, what we're going to see, My Big Toe, once he began to tap into it, his job, he was a nuclear physicist. Think about nuclear physicists, the big brains, scientists, right? He was able to solve complex issues, different things by literally just taking time to meditate. He learned how to meditate and he got good at it. And even the problems on his jobs, other physicists, they started coming to him because they knew him to solve the problem. He tried to show them. He said, listen, y'all come, let me show y'all how to meditate. Let me show y'all how this is actually happening. He said, it's amazing. It's like the universe is opening up to me and I'm just understanding how to work these problems out. You're getting like these digital downloads, right? I'm like, yo, we got to get there. I'm like, what have we been doing with our life? I get so excited about this, y'all. I'm like, give me some testable information I can use so I can use it and add it to my life. I got a lot of children that I homeschool. We employing some of these things. We ain't doing all this craziness of the public school system. When you look at my children, you'll be like, what, my G? You go talk to my 5-year-old daughter. She'll explain that to you. That's how I want it to be. I'm like, okay, children, we're going to practice this. Y'all going to be some of the smartest kids on this earth because y'all going to learn how to tap into the infinite wisdom of the universe so I get these digital downloads from y'all. Yo, look. My son, Jeremiah, already been practicing it. Okay, look, and Josh right there. Josh, 11 years old. So we starting him now. Okay, son. Josh is a Libra, right? So we practicing. You about to turn 12, son, in 2022. So I expect to see like a major ramping up in Josh's wisdom, right? And he already wise for his age, but okay, let me finish this, y'all, so we can pause this for the day. Okay, hold on. Fundamentally, the Gateway experience is a training system designed to bring enhanced strength, focus, and coherence to the amplitude and frequency of brainwave output between the left and right hemispheres so as to alter consciousness, moving it outside of the physical sphere so as to ultimately escape even the restrictions of time and space. The participant then gains access to the various levels of intuitive knowledge which the universe offers. What differentiates the Gateway experience from forms of meditation is its use of the Hemi sync technique. Hemi sync is HEMI-sync, SYNC, just in case you want to look it up. What differentiates the Gateway experience from forms of meditation is its use of the Hemi sync technique, which is defined in a monograph by Monroe Institute trainer Melissa Jagger as a state of consciousness defined when the EEG patterns of both hemispheres are simultaneously equal in amplitude and frequency. Although Hemi-sync seems to be rather rare and of only short duration in ordinary human consciousness, Melissa Jagger states that audio techniques developed by Bob Monroe can induce and sustain Hemi-sync with the Institute's basic focus. 3 tapes. Hold on. Audio techniques developed by Bob Monroe can induce and sustain Hemi-sync with the Institute's basic focus 3 tapes. She also notes that studies conducted by Elmer and Alice Green at the Menninger Foundation have shown that a subject with 20 years of training in Zen meditation could consistently establish Hemi-sync at will, sustaining it for over 15 minutes. Dr. Stuart Twemlow, a psychiatrist and a research associate of the Monroe Institute, reports that in our studies of the effect of the Monroe tape system on brain waves, we have found that the tapes encourage the focusing of the brain energy. It can be measured as with a light bulb in watts into a narrower and narrower frequency band. This focusing of energy is not unlike the yoga concept of one-pointedness, which we may translate into Western term as single-mindedness. If thine eye be single, then the whole body will be full of light. If thine eye, not thee, if thine eye be single. Dr. Twemlow goes on to observe that as the individual gets into the tapes beyond focus 3, there is a gradual increase in brain wave size, which is a measure of brain energy or power. And that, my beautiful people, is where we will pause today. And we're going to pick up tomorrow on part 6, where it's lamp versus laser. And we're going to read some more of this. So it's going to take us a few days to read through this, but I thought It was super important. So you can see actual, not just scientific proof from an author and a nuclear physicist that tested this, but from the C, the I, and the A, right? That knows about this and uses this and trains high-level military personnel how to do this. My G, look, listen here. Y'all, example, what I'm about to say. Y'all know the movie The Matrix, right? I used to wonder how a lot of things, now some things have just been taken from our people, and not just our people, different people. You ever wonder how something top secret that somebody has gets into the hands of the military or somebody else? I completely understand how they do that now. They use astral projection to steal your stuff. You can literally astral project into somebody's house, life, wherever, and steal secret information. You ain't got to show up and have nobody to do this. You can literally go do it without even moving from the spot where you sit. I'm just saying. Remember how this woman, the black woman, the original writer of The Matrix, remember that long court case went on for years and she finally won it a few years back? And it's, yes, you know, yeah, it was originally hers. Well, how did y'all get this woman's stuff? This woman who was living in might as well say a ghetto compared to how y'all were living and where y'all were located. How did y'all get her information into y'all hands? Because we be on watch, my G. And not just through these screens that we call cell phones and TVs. They can literally project themselves right to where you're at and pull information and see things about you, right? And other people are doing this too. And not that that's cool. It's still thievery and it's theft, and you shouldn't do it. And you shouldn't be doing stuff like that. Use it for what it's for. Not to take advantage of people and to steal their stuff, right? Even intellectual properties. Some people say they've been doing it to us for forever. Why can't we do it to them? I mean, I ain't telling you what to do. I'm just saying you connected to the source of power. You can pull something else from the ether or get a download from y'all that blows what they stole from you way out the water, right? And you can be more profitable, whatever, right? Let them have it. Let them have that, right? We're connected to the source of all creation. Yo, that's why they use our plasma, alley. Yo, there's a lot of stuff. I'm sorry. That's why. I was about to say something. It wasn't too important. But anyway, it's along the lines of this stuff right here. It's crazy. It's amazing. It's quite interesting. And it gets more fun by the day. The more we learn about it and actually begin to practice and realize, wait a minute, my G, life becomes a lot more interesting. All right, so with that being said, this is what we're going to pause for today. Make sure, I don't know that I can highlight this. I just need to write my spot down. Lamp versus laser. Okay, I'll make that note. Lamp versus laser. All right, y'all. So be on the lookout for some things that I'm going to post in the community section and on Facebook today. That's going to kind of help us along while we're seeing all of these things. I'm gonna be posting a lot of A&P stuff, but I'm going to be trying to point you to things so you have a good visual on what's happening. And you'll realize it's not spooky, nothing scary, it's nothing demonic, despite what the church has programmed into you in Hollywood, has gotten programmed into you wrongly about certain things. They don't want a whole army. That's what would be a whole army waking up, right? Understanding the tricks that they use against us, and it's gonna be hell to pay to the captain, right? I'm the captain now. We the captain now. It's gonna be hell to pay to the captain, right? We're pulling all our secrets back. We regaining control of our own ships, our own minds. It's gonna be hell to pay to the captain, right? All right. Take that how you will. Talay, hey girl, hey. All right, y'all. Christy, hey girl, hey. All right, y'all. So that's it for today. We're gonna go ahead and end this. Go ahead and read some more of that document or reread reread through it, just make sure you understand it, so you stand on point. When I'm trying to make sure I bring in certain things that I know about, that I already experienced, even while we're reading through this, just to kind of help you, give you a better visual, especially if you haven't already been exposed to it. But once you begin to see it, you're going to begin to see it, and you're going to begin to see how it's been happening in your life, and how we can take control back over everything that we should be controlling. It should be out of everybody else's control, right? Even with all the stuff they're putting up here about the pandemic, all this other stuff, none of that stuff should bother us if we learn how to take control of what we've been given. If we walk in our birthright, like my son said yesterday, what is our birthright? Trying to be slick, throwing in things, trying to get me to explain something yesterday. But what is our birthright? We should be walking in our birthright, right? Okay. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and end this. We're at an hour and 44 minutes today. Is Bella still asleep?
No, she is not.
Tell her I said, come on and come in this video. Let me pull up this blessing while I'm waiting for this little lady to come down here. Remember, the blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Amen, Audrey. She said, I was glad I was led here. Shoot, I'm glad I was led here. You should have seen me some years back. I was like, oh, no. Demonic stuff. Stay away from it. I was thoroughly indoctrinated, y'all. I was a freaking mess. I was thoroughly indoctrinated. And mind you, I grew up being fearful of a lot of stuff. Right? So I was just, boogeyman, nope, stand away from that. Nope, I don't want to hear you, la, 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 la. I can't hear you, but he's still talking. I am not listening to you. All the time, y'all was trying to wake me up and try to show me these things. Like, listen here, silly. This is your own body I'm trying to teach you about. Girl.
You said I can end the video already.
First of all, you need to lower your tone. We're about to end the video. Ooh. She be getting on my nerves. Look. But you're thinking about it? Thailand. Go in, sis. Go in. I'm telling you. Go back to them videos where when I gave a good overview of the praying in tongues or whatever. Go back to, it's like 2 videos. I think those are the videos with the superpowers, like how to get your superpowers and stuff. I think that's the title of those 2 videos. I know it's 3 of them, but it's the superpowers one and like the one before this, so the Monday or Tuesday and the Wednesday video. Okay. All right, girl. Let's do the blessing. She here. She getting agitated. I shouldn't have called you down, sis. You know how I still be talking a few more minutes. Okay. Okay. All right, y'all. Let's do the blessing. We got this blanket, girl. Okay.
Mom, I cannot.
You cannot what? Okay. The blessing. Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahuwah will kneel before us, presenting gifts, and he will guard us with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards us, bringing order, and he will provide us with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up his wholeness of being and look upon us, and he will set in place all we need to be whole and complete. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people, I love y'all. I'll see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Birds. Be checking the comment section, I mean not the comment, community section for the stuff I said I was going to share today. Girl, what is she doing? Oh, she's trying to end Facebook in YouTube first today. What is she doing? What? Can't look. Okay. All right, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead. Hit this button, girl. You doing all kinds of stuff. Bye, YouTube.